Kate.
Hi. Hello, Kate.
Hello.
Well, thank you so much for having us all here today. What we wanted to talk about is our current model of success. And what that is it's actually measured by two metrics, by money and power. And you've probably heard our fearless leader, Arianna Huffington, talk a lot about this. And we're going to have a conversation today about how we can get past that. And we know that this model, the money and power and the chase for it, that it causes stress and burnout and sleep deprivation and a general sense of unhappiness. And we know it's not sustainable. So we have an initiative at the Huffington Post to redefine success beyond money and power. And we call it the third metric. It's based on well-being, wisdom, wonder, and giving. And today, in this session, we're going to explore the third metric and specifically how it ties to well-being. And we're going to talk about specifically the importance of the first pillar, so we can learn how to truly thrive in our lives. So I wanted to just get started right away. And Agapi, you recently wrote a blog, and it said, why you're going to eliminate the word busy from your vocabulary. Why do we need to rethink the word busy?
Well, let me just ask our audience, how many people find themselves saying things like, I'm very busy, I'm overwhelmed, I'm insanely busy, or as a friend of mine said the other day, I haven't had a moment to catch my breath. Does anybody say that? That's not a good thing to do to yourself. I tell you why, because we think in words. And words have power. And what we tell ourselves, we tend to manifest. So if you tell yourself you're overwhelmed, you're going to be really hectic, like fight or flight syndrome, and you're going to feel like you're in the jungle and the lion is lining after you, where all you have to do is complete or do your to-do list or engage. And there is nothing more empowering for all of us, especially women, because I think a lot of us stepping into our own presence is our power, to really allow ourselves to be present in the moment. I mean, there's nothing worse than interacting with people where they are hectic and they're not there. I heard the other day, Arianna was interviewing the PR head of Google, an amazing woman. You can imagine how busy she is, right? PR of Google International. And she said she had noticed that she was reading her child the bedtime story. And while she was reading the chapter, to put the little 6-year-old, her son, to sleep, she didn't hear a word. And she finished the chapter and she said, I don't think I remember anything I said, because she was writing a blog in her own head. And then when she went to bed to kind of try to recover the blog, she couldn't remember the blog. Because that's what we do, if we're not really, so, and I'm the first one who's working on myself, and that's why I wrote the blog about how not to use these words. So I started to find substitutes of words, and I would love your advice. I now say things like, my plate is full. Or can I talk to you a little bit later? But if I'm going to talk to somebody, call myself forward. Or say, can we engage? I'm fully engaged on something. Or this month is going to be really, not crazy and busy, but this month is really taken with a lot of assignments or projects. So in a way, reframe it. Because I think, and I can't stress it enough, there's the power of us being present in the moment and summoning up our creativity. Because when we are creative, we are alive, we're feeling joyful, we're feeling amazing. And if we stop telling ourselves these things and kind of catch yourself, because now I told my practitioner the other day who was helping me with words, I said to her, I'm sorry, I just used the bad word, I just used B, the B word. And I kind of catch myself anymore to say, why am I saying that to myself? Because when I'm talking to somebody, I'm really there. Why should I say to them I'm busy? Because at that moment, I'm not busy. I'm talking to them. So it's what we do in our heads, basically. And if we stop and look at the world who doesn't have the words, but it's really the world without the words, that's when we come to the wonder, which we'll talk about later. Mm-hmm. Because then you look at the sky, you look at the trees, you look at the wonder of the world that is without words. And I think that's the presence.
It sounds like very wise. It sounds like what you're talking about is carving out time for yourself too, to just make an appointment with yourself so that you're not constantly trying to give pieces of yourself to others.
Yeah, or your to-do list, constantly completing your to-do list,
Exactly.
Which we all have. It's a constant thing, all the things we need to do. And it takes practice. I mean, I don't know, I'm sure, Lisa and Tiffany must have the same problem. I mean, it's practice. I mean, we all have lives that involve a lot of things. So it's not an easy thing but to train your mind. Because most of I think our stress is caused with our thoughts, not so much because of what we do. I mean, that's true for me anyways, what I think, so.
Lisa, I'm curious, when we talk about this relationship with ourselves and being really in touch with what we're thinking every day, I would love to know how do you define, having a good relationship with others if you can't have a good relationship with yourself?
Well, it seems self-evident that in order to have a good relationship with anyone else, and when you say relationships, it's not necessarily a romantic relationship, it's with anyone you come in contact with. You can have levels of intimacy, whether it's someone sitting next to you for 20 minutes or someone who's a life partner. But I think anytime you connect with another person, there is a relationship. And if you don't know who you are and know why you are making the choices you're making, you will tend to fall into a habitual pattern of blaming other people when the relationship is not where you want it to be, of manipulating other people to get what you want, of being unconscious in your interactions. And so when I talk about knowing yourself, it really is about living with awareness and consciousness. And I just wanted to say one thing. We were talking about redefining success. And I think part of what we need to do in our relationships, but also for just ourselves moving forward, is get away from searching for success, because what we want is happiness, right? So we think success will bring us happiness, but no matter how successful you are, you can always be more successful, and there's always someone who is more successful than that. So it builds this cycle of perpetual dissatisfaction. So I think it's really important for us to shift from seeking success to seeking significance. Because significance is really powerful, and you don't have to do something big and huge and make tons of money to have impact. So I think when you focus on significance, everything opens up.
And the nice thing about that is it's however you want to define it.
Right, and it's not defined externally
Exactly.
either.
Exactly.
And it's more like what you think is significance. Would you say it's more like the value that we have with the things we do? What is the value?
It's purpose and meaning, and again, connection and having impact. And that impact does not necessarily have to be measured in terms of money or fame.
Right.
Recognition.
Or power. There's dangerous P words. It's funny because you're banning busy, and we've had bossy banned for us.
Right.
I'm just hoping they're not going to ban busty. I mean, it's just like it's going to be a poem.
Then I'm out. I'll be in trouble.
But
you too. We should have the busty tribe.
That's not a bad word.
Comparison, control, all of those, they're words that we should be banning, not by the words themselves, but by the intention that they create within us.
Right, and because we're talking to so many women today, I think, I wanted to talk a little bit about how women sometimes hesitate to put themselves first and to define these things for themselves. And why is that? Do you think there's a negative connotation with being selfish or making time for yourself? And how can we get past that?
So it's funny, again, it comes back to the idea of being really honest with yourself. And I know in my life that a lot of times when I am doing something for someone else in a way that makes me feel compromised, there is a selfish reason to do it as well. Whether I'm doing it to manipulate or to be the martyr or to control in some way. So I think, again, you have to peel back the layers of honesty with yourself and see why you are making those sacrifices. And I don't think really it's when we're doing something truly for someone else that we are hurting ourselves. When we are, there are several things. One, you feel much better. You're happiest when you're in service and mutual connection and helping other people. So and as a mother, I know that when I'm doing things for my kids from a genuine place, it's not. That's usually not when I'm exhausted and tired and angry. It's when I've got 15 other things and I'm trying to juggle doing something for them, and I've got my own stuff going on, and I've got my husband's stuff going on. But I think where we hurt ourselves is where we don't live in a way that's true to ourselves. Right. So we're not conscious and present. What you were talking about, and we don't do what we really want to do. So we know that we want to read our kid the book, but we'll spend 15 extra minutes on Facebook. Right. We know that we want to exercise, but we'll gossip with our friend on the phone, or not do what we know that we want to get in shape, but we'll eat those 5 cookies because they're back in the green room. Right. So it's when we make choices that I think are not the choices that we truly desire to make, and that impacts our relationships, and we do have to do things for other people because we're playing catch up. I think that's where it hurts us.
And that creates stress.
Oh, totally.
Right. I mean, that's the conflict of those 2 commands. One says do this, the other one that. And that's, I think, I think it's so profound what you're saying, that the relationship with being conscious, even if being conscious of your negatives too.
Oh, but that's the most important part. Like, you can justify all those.
I love to quote Lisa, because I remember she said something to me over at lunch, which I repeated many times.
Pass the cookies.
Pass the cookies. No, the bread. Pass the bread. And I said, and the butter. No, because I remember, and I said to you about this conflict of caretaking, and I said the me time, and she said, I don't think of me time. I think of all of my life is a me time, meaning that if I say, well, this is me time, I'm choosing my clothes, and this is the not me time, I'm volunteering and helping, because then there is a separation. And I remember, didn't you remember you said that? I don't like to think of it as me time. I like to think of it as my life.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, don't you love that? It's like, this is my life, and I do some things that take care of me and some things take care of others, but it's not like now I'm doing all these good things for others. And then that creates a conflict.
Well, speaking of life, I wanted to talk to you about, you survived breast cancer twice, which is incredible.
Thank you.
How important, when you're faced with such huge daunting challenge like that, how do you find, how important are the relationships and the human connection to the people that you care about in fighting a big illness like that?
The human connection is the most important. Being told you have breast cancer 3 times under the age of 40.
Wow.
When I was first diagnosed in 2005, I was 29 years old.
That's amazing.
And immediately, you're like just introduced to oncologists and surgeons. And my first oncologist, of course, you want to kill the messenger. He's like, you need to do chemo, you need to do radiation, and you're like, I'm 29 years old. Like, what do you mean? Yeah. Like, what is chemo? What is breast cancer? And I met another oncologist, and we didn't talk about breast cancer. We didn't talk about the illness. We didn't talk about the first oncologist saying that if you don't do what we say you're going to do, you're cooked. He said, lay your head on my shoulder. And in that moment, it was just that connection that just really made me at ease, gave me hope. Like, it took the breast cancer out of my head. It was like, you're gonna be okay. So, and having family and friends, when I was diagnosed, you really don't want to talk about it, especially being so young, because immediately you think of cancer, I'm gonna die. And you take yourself out of the equation, and you're like, well, what's gonna happen to my family, my friends, my dogs? I have a little 3-pound Chihuahua and a 3-pound Yorkshire Terrier, and I was like, who's gonna take care of my babies? And so all of the connection of people and helping, and just someone just sitting there and talking to you, it keeps you alive. It really does. And I started to show up when I was doing radiation. This is a great story. Doing radiation, you need to show up every day at the same time. And I showed up every day at the same time, and I always put nice clothes on because I wanted to make myself feel good. And there was a woman there, and she was from Greece, and she couldn't speak English. Her husband had lymphoma, and he was clearly dying. And I don't know if anyone in the audience, if you smelled someone dying, but you can smell death. It was really heavy. And she couldn't speak English, and every day I would show up, it was at 11:10 every day, I would grab the New York Times that was at my doorstep, and I would race over to Mount Sinai, and I would walk through the door, and it was like the shark, like dun 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 dun. And she was sitting there, and I would read the New York Times to her, and I was reading to her, and she was trying to explain to me about her plants, and she was worried about her plants living, and I said, everything's going to be okay. And I read Susan Komen was doing a walk in Central Park, and it was the first time that I asked, why me? And in that moment, I knew why me, because I was there for her.
Oh, wow.
She took me out of myself. I didn't think about myself. I thought about her and how I was there showing up every day for her to get her through it. So the human connection going through any illness, I mean, it's
Transformation.
It's just powerful.
Amazing.
One of the things that I find most profound and really, just incredible about your story is how, you received this diagnosis and you've turned it into something positive for other people. You have this foundation, Pink Chose Me, which if you haven't checked it out, you should absolutely do that, it's all about education and financial support for people in underserved communities. And like you say, normally people would hear a diagnosis like this and say, why me? But you almost make it sound like a gift. Pink chose me. And I just find that so incredibly inspirational. And how do you do that? How do you turn something so terrible into something that sounds like a gift?
Well, having breast cancer has truly been a gift to me. A gift that, I really started taking care of myself. And in taking care of myself, it's taking care of the world around you. And through my journey, I've met so many people battling breast cancer and all types of cancer. And I was fortunate enough to have resources and support groups and family and friends. And I met a lot of people who didn't have that. And I said, what is so rightfully given to me, I need to give back. And that is education. When I was diagnosed in 2005, there was an article in the New York Times. I love the New York Times. There was an article in the New York Times, and 62% of Black women die from this disease.
Wow.
80% of women, they live. Well, let me say this. 62% of Black women, they don't go and get their follow-up after they're diagnosed, which means they're in trouble. 80% of white women, they go and get their follow-up, which means they have a high percentage of living. So those numbers were just like...
Staggering.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful that you're doing something about it.
So it's just, I got to give back, and it's so important to educate. Early detection saved my life. Before it gets to stage 4, when you get to the doctor, and there's no hope, there's no help.
Yeah.
So I just, Pink Chose Me, our mission is to spread awareness of early detection, spread awareness of breast cancer. I used to be on the other side of, going to charities and having, glasses of champagne and, donations. Now I'm on the other side. So that's our mission.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Amazing. Agape, speaking of gifts, I've heard you say that there is a gift that every person can give to the world. What is your gift?
Well, I want to say first about your gift. I love this woman. You walk around at the Huffington Post and you see her presence, and she's pregnant, which is amazing now. But, to me, part of, and I feel always your presence and your grace, and I've never seen her hectic, which is amazing. She's the managing editor of Huffington Post, and I never see Kate saying, I'm busy, and I just want to really acknowledge you for that. Thank because you are really such a presence there, and when you connect with people. She's a connector, and I love that about people. I think one of the gifts that I feel is my gift, and I think we all have that gift, is to see other people's gifts. And I think when you look at someone, to be able to see them, because all I think we really all want is to be seen. Mm-hmm. And when we're seen, we feel valued, we feel loved, and that's what you're doing, Tiffany, And I mean, with your work, and you're seeing people who could be classified as having breast cancer, they're sick, and they're like out of the living or the way the rest of the world is. And I think I was very blessed, as you know, with my mother, that Ariana and I so much talk about it. And I wrote this book. I've got to put a plug for my book, you know, Unbinding the Heart, which is about my mother and my life story, and how I overcame difficulties in my life. Nothing like you overcame, because really what you've overcome is just extraordinary. But everybody has their own challenges, you know, and my challenge was identifying with myself wanting to be an actress after finishing drama school, and the best drama school in the world, and not getting the parts. It's a whole story of how I found my voice in a New York City bus by performing for one woman. And I realized that my gift was to not be conditioned, like I will share it in Hollywood on Broadway stage, but I won't share it with people. If you have a gift, you just share it. And that's so enriching. And I'm very passionate about helping people say, my God, we all have a gift, and let's not wait for anything for us to share it. I mean, your gift could be listening. Your gift could be hearing beyond what people say. Your gift could be accounting, but I'm not talking about that gift. I'm talking about your inner gift, and your loving, your heart, and bringing that to the plate. And for me, being able to, I have a phrase that I love, which is, it's not so much teaching people how to become, but really seeing who they are, so that they become more of themselves with you. And it is incredible how much hunger there is for that. Don't go through, my mother again taught us that, don't live without not acknowledging everybody. Because you say, well, these are the lesser people, you know, and Ariana has that on the Thrive book, which I love. Every day, connect with someone that you wouldn't connect with. I mean, you know, the cashier at the supermarket, the person who's cleaning the floor. And that is so enriching to be able to connect, because then life becomes, well, I'll connect later in the dinner with my friends. But what happens to the rest of the day? So it's really, for me, the message is bring your heart to everything you do. You know, first of all to you, and then to everybody. And it's not hard to do.
Good way to live.
But we judge it because we think it's not enough, and it's so much. It's incredible how much everything then becomes richer and more fun.
Yeah. Lisa, you are the editor-at-large of a new magazine called The Good Life.
Yes. Yay!
Congratulations.
Amazing.
Talking about how to live a more enriching life, and that's really the title of your magazine. So what did you have in mind as the editorial mission of this magazine when you chose that name?
Well, of course, a lot of people, when you say The Good Life, they assume it's a magazine about planes and boats and
cigars.
Right. And so we went through that initially, and I was like, are people going to think that? And what we decided was that really the good life is what is truly important to you. It's what we all really want. We think we want the cars and the planes and the boats and whatever, but what we really want is a healthy body, abundant, delicious, wonderful food, great relationships, information that can help us live better, ways to be happy in our life. So the magazine was a compilation of all those things. Some great information. It's visually really stimulating. It's kind of a primer on how to live happy. So that's what we thought The Good Life was. And our tagline is what you really want, not what you think you want.
I like that. And I've heard you say that you are where you're supposed to be every second of your life.
Absolutely.
I loved that quote.
Love it.
I loved it. It just felt so full of purpose and meaning. And what did you mean by that?
What I mean by that, you are where you're supposed to be every second of your life. Right here in this moment, we are where we're supposed to be every second of our lives. And in every moment, there's a learning lesson. There is something to be learned. There is something to be experienced. There is something to receive. No matter if it's good or bad, it's just where you're supposed to be. And when you surrender to where you're supposed to be, then it's like the universe just kind of opens up and it just flows the way it's supposed to do in your life. A quick story. When I wanted to be a stand-up comedian when I first...
Never too late. I'll do the drums.
Yeah, here you
but
are.
Audience, stand up.
When I first was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was in California, chasing this dream. I'm going to be the next like Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, somebody, Jim Carrey, someone. And I was chasing, you know, chasing the fame, chasing the boy. I was just chasing everything, forcing everything. And, you know, cancer really like sat me down, like, Tiffany, sit down. I was busy.
Yes.
And I just stopped everything. You know, of course, the illness sat me down for a while, but I stopped everything. And I began to like really like dig in, like what makes Tiffany tick? Like what, you know, even though I'm going through the illness, but what really makes Tiffany tick? And so through all of that, you know, searching and doing all this self-love, I found myself, and the fame came. So a year ago, I had a producer, I'm not famous, but a producer contacted me and my girlfriend, and they're like, we want you to do this show. And I'm like, well, absolutely not. My life is good, it's quiet. And they're like, just think about it. So make a long story short, we put a pilot together. They talked me into it. We put a pilot together, and we shopped it. No one wanted it. And 8 weeks later, Oprah called and said, we want this show. And we were, it was just like, how did this happen?
Wow.
So it's like when you stop, you breathe, you don't force things, you don't chase it, you just allow it to come to you, and whatever you want, it's there, so.
I love that.
Yeah.
And we're just,
There is this great quote which totally sums up what you're saying, which you're going to love. It's called, "My heart is at peace, knowing that that is mine will never miss me, and that misses me was never meant for me."
I love that.
You want to say it, everybody, together?
Yes.
Put your hand in your heart and just say, "My heart is at peace,
My heart is at peace,
knowing
knowing
that is mine
that is mine
will never miss me,
will never miss me,
and that misses me
and that misses me
was never meant for me."
was never meant for me.
love that.
Isn't that beautiful?
Lovely
It
way
was,
to end our panel today.
it was not Rumi or Hafiz, but one of the Sufi poets, and it's actually in Ariana's book on the Thrive. So, but you know, you can get it. I have it on my website too, unbindingtheheart.com, with a picture of Maxwell Parrish, because for me, whenever I feel I'm missing something, we all have these moments, you know, like, oh my God, I'm missing out on something. I just tell myself, and it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Because what we really miss is ourselves. There's nothing there. I mean, you know, what we really miss is ourselves. And if you can be with yourself, present with yourself wherever you are, trusting, that's empowerment. That is empowerment, right?
It is. Completely. Well, some really wonderful words to live by today. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all so much for sharing
Thank
your...
you, Kay. Thank you. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you all so much. Don't go anywhere, because we have more treats. Greek food. No. Why doesn't Claudia feed us? You know. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
And if you sit down just for a minute, I want to give you some of the wisdoms of my mother and some of the family secrets here. Would you like to hear some? Yes. So my mother had this great quote. She used to say, "We're all born an original, but most of us die a copy." So I want to inspire you right now at this minute, because life happens in the moment, to just call yourself forward into the original being that you are. Because if you look around left and right and behind you, there is nobody who is like you. There is nobody who looks like you in the whole universe. There is nobody who does the way things you do. So owning who you are is very empowering. Now, we tend as women to compare ourselves to other people, to other women, and say they have more, whether it is looks, whether it is money, careers. Don't do that. really today, declare it complete. You know, we can declare things complete. You can make a list instead of your to-do list. I call it my to-be list or to-not-be list. So you just say, from this moment on, whenever I compare myself to someone, and believe me, I know the comparison game, I'm going to look myself in the mirror and say, don't do that, honey, because there's no one like you. And so start with yourself, with just really acknowledging and appreciating yourself. 4 magic words, and Marlo said it so beautifully. I'll give you the 4 magic words. Can you help me? Always reaching out and asking. And I wanted to ask you for the other 6 words, which is, what can I do for you? So it's the cycle of giving and receiving. And sometimes it takes courage. But courage comes from the word cur, which means the heart. So bring your heart and daring to open up your heart. And today, as we live here, would you promise me that you'll go up to somebody you haven't met? Because you know how we grow, you know how we experience our aliveness, by reaching out and not being very comfortable. If you're comfortable, you're going to be the way you are. And that's the definition of insanity. You know, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Some of the greatest things that I did was going up to someone and asking them to help me make projects happen, to reach out and raise money, to reach out and say, I need help for this, I need help for that, to perform for one woman in the Basque when I was depressed. How do you get out of your depression, of your down, of your... Everybody ever gets discouraged here? Discouragement, let me just tell you, discouragement, doubt, and fear, listen to me very carefully, is the #1 killer of the human spirit. If you are in discouragement, and my friends, I'm speaking from experience, I got very discouraged trying for years to get to the acting jobs. If you're in discouragement, promise me you'll catch it. Because if you catch it, you'll reach out to someone. What is your beautiful, what's your name? Stuart. You'll call Stuart, or you call someone, you say, Stuart. You say, Agapi, how are you? Ask me. Oh, thank you for asking. How I am is that I'm feeling discouraged, that this thing will never happen. The man will not marry me, the project, does everybody feel that way? It will never happen. When you are like that and you catch it and you reach out to Stuart or to someone else, what is your name? You reach out to someone and say, I'm in discouragement, and then shake the person and say, sweetheart, don't be in discouragement, let me help you. And you summon up your power, your amazing feminine spirit, your uniqueness, your gift, and you help them, you will be amazed. Do not stay in discouragement and do not stay in hesitation. I have my little tribe. My sister is one of them. Our friends, I have the few friends. Have your little Thrive tribe, as we call it. And reach out and tell them how you are. In Greece, you know, we don't have the word fine in the vocabulary. If you say to somebody, how are you? You say, you know, I'm feeling depressed. You say, really? Everybody's supposed to be great. How? Why? We're not great. Sometimes we are depressed. Sometimes we're sad. But let me tell you the amazing thing. Not just our feelings. Who we are is the original magnificent women that we are, and men. So if we confess it, we can bypass it. Just don't stay too long in it. Allow yourself half an hour for depression. That's plenty. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes for sadness. Okay, 3 minutes for fear. Just feel it, scared, afraid, feel it, and then tell someone, Stuart or Kelly or someone, these beautiful women, they're all your friends. If you say to someone, I'm scared, I'm going for my interview, I'm going to ask for the money, my business isn't happening. I watched my sister, when she started Huffington Post, in our living room, in her office in Los Angeles. Do you think she was feeling, this is the best thing ever? No. She was going, oh my God, will this work? The press was terrible to her. I mean, they just crucified her. But look what happened. How do you think this happened? You just keep doing it. You just keep going. You just keep going at all costs. You've got to be ruthless in this world. But first and foremost, you take care of you. You make you your priority. You make you your priority. You love you, you nurture you, treat yourself as if you are someone inexpressively dear to you. You cherish you. Look at this beautiful woman here. Why wouldn't you ever love yourself? I mean, she's so lovable. Love yourself. Hug yourself. I mean, hug other people too. And at night, when you go to bed, I tell myself, Agape, darling, you did great. I call myself darling, okay? Otherwise, it's like you got to start being, and when I don't feel loving with myself, I tell my little tribe, I'm judging myself. Anybody judges themselves? In and out. But don't make altars in your judgments. Judge yourself and say, now I'm judging myself. Okay, fine. And then move on. Because in the book Thrive, I've just been in this tour with Ariana in London, and the Brits are amazing. They really are beginning to thrive. It's wonderful. Even with that British accent, you feel they're thriving all the time. But, we have 30,000 days if we're lucky. And this moment, let's see, June 5th, 4:15 on Thursday, this is the moment. This is the moment. You decide, you declare it, and you say, this is what I would like more of. And turn next to someone here in this S.H.E Summit. That's why Claudia created this S.H.E Summit, the S.H.E Summit tribe. Not tomorrow. I really urge you, and I ask you with all my heart, reach out to someone who needs what you have and find someone who has what you need. It's the circle of life, my friends. It's the giver. You become a go-giver and a go-getter. And once you become a go-giver, you feel so rich that you might have very little money, but you feel so wealthy. I wrote a book, Unbinding the Heart, chapter 6, it says, Mommy, are we rich? I asked my mother at the age of 9 if we were rich. We were not rich. We had a bit of money. And my mother said, we are very wealthy because what we have, we share. And because we have talent, and because we're not afraid to go and ask for what we need, and because we have education. These are the riches. This country has made God their money. Money, for God's sake. We can't do that anymore. That's not God. That's just money. And make money by all means. But where you are rich in sharing your wealth inside, and you don't know it till you start to share it. And I remember my mother, when she didn't have money, you know what she did? She would go out and buy me and Ariana something we loved. Because she would have feasts at home and invite people to share. Because, my friends, the greatest gift we can have and transmute to each other is trust. Trust. As Rumi said, everything is rigged in your favor. The reason I am who I am today is because so many things that I wanted didn't work out. Because I didn't get the parts I thought were so important. Because the man I loved wouldn't marry me, thank God. Because I loved the men that were not right for me, and the men who loved me, I didn't want anything to do with them. You know the story. So, all the things, what we really, 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 really want is ourselves. So once you've got you go create anything you want in the world. Because it's a game. And you're not afraid to ask. And because you're making yourself like a scientific experiment. And you say, well, that didn't feel right. That was a mistake. That's fine. I'll try this. And tell your friends, that was a mistake. Don't do that. But maybe you have to do it to learn for yourself. Because we all have to learn for ourselves. So let this moment be very significant, as Lisa said. Let this moment, you be filled. You be filled. Don't run on empty. Don't make your internet and your smartphones more important than you. If you're tired, put the phones down. Love yourself. Read poetry to yourself. Read poetry to people you love. Listen to music. You know, we are all artists. We are all amazing souls. And then we have these lives here. But each one of us finds their own way. There are no 7 ways or any books you can read. You can get inspired, but you will learn it through your practice and through your living. And then you open up. And the more you open up and you don't hesitate and you don't hold back and you own you become a lover of life. Just because we are. We are not these 3-dimensional little bodies. We have these huge souls. You read any mystics, any philosophers, whether they're Greek or German or Thoreau or Emerson. Listen to music you love. Make your life a poetry, and then your business will flourish. When your employees come, if you have business, sit them down and say, let's have a meal together. Let's break bread. Let me open a beautiful bottle of wine at night and share it with the people. Celebrating life. Take naps. Lots of naps. Don't let yourself be tired. If you're tired, go to sleep. Buy yourself nice lingerie. Treat yourself like a princess, like a goddess, like a queen. Why not? And you walk around and people say, your presence. And you say, yes, it's our presence. You bring it in from the inside out, my friends. It's not out there. It's not going to be in the magazines. The magazines are nice for information, but it's you inside of you. Are you with me? Yes. I love you. Waves of happiness. Waves, send each other waves of happiness. Right now, let's dance together. Let's lift each other up. Waves of happiness. Thank you. Who's going to come up and dance? Nobody. You're so great. Come up, dance. Who else? Come up on the stage.
And thank you so much. And we have an hour and a half of cocktails and networking and marketplace discovery. So please.
And meet someone you don't know.
And meet somebody you don't know and go up to them and not ask, what do you do for a living, but how can I help you? How can I help
What is
you?
your gift? You promise? It'll be amazing. And
Yes.
tomorrow you can come and tell us.
Yeah, tell us all about it tomorrow. And keep those journals filled up also. I want to see your homework after tomorrow. Okay, so Marketplace. Enjoy cocktails and networking and supporting each other. Thank
Let
you.
me just say,
Thank you for the flowers.
you know, this woman worked so hard. No, she wasn't busy, but she worked with all her heart. And I tell you, first time we did this, and she said to me, it's a lot to do, a lot to take on. And what did we do? I put an ideal scene.
Yes.
We put a piece of paper. It was the placemat of the dinner. And I said, we're going to make an ideal scene of how you want it to come out, with God as your partner.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So every time after that, God, whatever you call it, spirit, I said, don't do it alone. It sucks if you do it alone. I said, life is not fun if you do it alone. And this is the 3rd year of this, and it keeps growing.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you,
so
darling.
much. Thank you. Enjoy. Love you.
Enjoy.
Okay. Thank you, guys.